Good morning. It is Wednesday morning. I'm going to tell you a really quick story. I have a person who works for me. Her name's Whitney, and she says that her family all recognize the good morning because it's the first thing I say every time during the show, and it cracks me up that they're getting, they're kind of making fun of me a little bit at home, but I think that's kind of fun. I am Ann Brennan. We are ASMM Digital Small Business Connections. We are the podcast for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs. Our goal is for you to walk away with something you can put to work either in your business life or your personal life every single episode. It's important to me because I know as an entrepreneur, my life is busy. I don't have time to listen to fluff. I want to listen to things that I'm going to be able to put into my life. And that's what I want to give to you with every single episode of the show. I want to remind you that we are live, which means you've got experts on the show. You've got people who you can ask questions of, and you can shamelessly plug your business. And I have to tell you, I'm a little ashamed of some of you for not shamelessly plugging your business. Because you should, every opportunity you have that somebody offers you to tell people about your business, you should take it. So when you leave your comment, say, this is Whitney with ASMM Digital, or whoever you are with, say who you're with, and let us know because you should be plugging your business. I am here to help you with that. Speaking of that, I am ASMM Digital is the only sponsor of the show, which means I'm going to give you a shameless plug right now. We are a digital marketing agency. Our specialty is social media. I can become you. My team can become you online. We do this for all sorts of businesses. We become you online, whether you're a plumber or you're a home designer or you are a divorce attorney. We actually work with a divorce attorney. There are so many different people we work with and we become them online. And that is my shameless plug for the day. It's that simple, guys. Make sure you're shamelessly plugging your business. All right, let me introduce you to Dean Forbes. Dean and I almost went over, quite honestly, because he's so interesting. We almost went over our limit of how much we have pre-show, so I'm sure we're going to talk about afterwards. But Dean Forbes is with Dean Forbes Media. And Dean, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ann. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure for me to be here. Love it, and love what you're doing, and love the little story that you just told, by the way. And my favorite line so far that you've said is, "We could become you online." That's awesome. I love that.
Yes, that is our goal. It's funny how much I learn about different businesses. And look at this. We already have one. I'm just going to pull it up. Natasha said hi, and she's with Wealth Through Wellness. And that's how you shamelessly plug your business. So please do that. Dean, tell me a little bit about what you do and why.
Well, I'm going to start with why. The reason why I do what I do is because ever since I can remember, 20, 25 years ago, I've always had this gnaw inside me. I don't know if you're like me, you have this feeling in your gut that you're supposed to do something, that you're meant to do something different, something bigger, something that scares the living crap out of you. And I've always had a thing inside of me that told me that I need to help people, lift people, pull people out of whatever dark spaces they're in and let them know that if they believe there's light at the end of the tunnel, that there is. And that fire has been burning in my gut for the last 20 years of my life. So much so that no matter what I'm doing or where I am, I have to be in a position where I'm helping people. So at this point in my career, if I want to put a title to it, you could call me a high impact coach. And I focus on, helping experts and business owners raise their level of impact through what I call the impact factor, because I know that without influence, if you can't influence people, then you can't get anything done. If you can't influence change, you can't get anything done. So influence is key. It's one of the most undertaught areas actually in the coaching business, is to focus on influence. So that's my focus, and I do it through something I call the impact factor.
Well, and I think that's so important. The influence is, for me, people wonder how I went from being a running blogger to suddenly owning a digital agency, and why it was so easy. Why the same day I decided to start my business, literally I put it out on Facebook and said, I'm starting my business. And within 2 hours, I had 2 contracts for clients. So how did that happen? And it's because I had created a sphere of influence that was bigger than myself.
There you
So
go.
I think what you're going to talk about, these 4 intangible secrets of influence, so important. So well, let's start with the first one. Having a captivating presence, because
Yes.
can everybody do that?
So funny enough, and I've been asked that question a lot. Can anybody do that? Because one of the things people always say, well, Dean, I can't do it like you, or, I'm not going to sound like you. Here's the funny thing about the part of it that says captivating is what people don't understand. To have captivation, you have to be yourself. You can't captivate people with somebody else's personality. You can't captivate people by trying to be somebody else. Okay. You have to captivate people by being you. And you're the person that you need to channel out there. So a captivating presence is how you show up. The more you show up in your own skin, the more you can captivate people. So in other words, it's like you're not afraid or you're unapologetic about being who you are. Because here's the big thing that I want people to understand about having a captivating presence. You're not here to necessarily please everyone or have everybody be pleased to look at you. You're here to attract the people that you want to serve and repel the ones that you don't. And that's completely okay. So the captivating presence comes from within. It is within. It sounds cliche, but honestly, it's really about believing that you are more than enough to capture what's happening right here, right now, and showing up like that. That's what a captivating presence is all about.
I love that. And I love that you said that you're more than enough. I say that you're worthy, right?
Yeah.
I did this thing where I would get up on stage, and I don't think I've ever revealed this on the show, but I would get up on stage, and the longer I was up, the faster I would talk, because I realized that I kept thinking they're not going to want to listen to me for this long. They're not going to want to listen to me for this long. And finally I'm like, they're here to listen to me. That's what they're here for. So why am I doing that to myself? I needed to understand that I was worthy. So I think that's so important to realize, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, whether you're kind of over the top or, under that,
Yeah.
whatever the case, you're worthy of being there and having people listen to you. So I think that's really important.
Well, if I could, and I want to tell you just a quick story about the whole captivating presence thing. Years ago, probably 17 years ago, when I was still getting my bearings around speaking, I was training with these 2 gentlemen who I consider to be dear friends, and they're mentors of mine. And we're doing a presentation training for a whole group of people. And at the time, Dean was considered to be the best presenter in the group. So I had my presentation ready to go, and it was all about me because it's me, and I'm the man, I'm the ish, as they would say. So I get up there, do my presentation. Somebody did something in the audience, and I lost my train of thought, and it completely discombobulated me. So Chris Barron, he said, Dean, listen, stop. I want you to do the presentation again. I want you to sit down. So I said, okay. So I sat down and I started delivering. He said, okay, stand up, but don't stop talking. And then he and Sam, they stacked another chair on and said, sit down. And I said, keep talking. I kept talking. And he said, get up, stacked another chair on. Well, by the time it was done, we were about 10 chairs stacked up. And I'm there trying to jump up on top of the chairs to still keep talking. And everybody's laughing. And I started laughing. And they were like, Dean, you're more than enough. It's okay to be down here with the rest of us. You're here to serve. Right. And I was like, wow, that lesson that has stuck with me ever since, because that's the point of what you just said. Yes, they're there to listen to you, but the truth of the matter is you're there to serve. And it doesn't matter how you look when you're serving. If you're there in service, you will have a captivating presence. That is a promise.
Oh, I love that. Being there in service. I did, that is my takeaway for today. I don't know what else you're going to say, but that is a huge takeaway. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So we talked the other day about compassion with Artie Moore, and one of your 4 intangible secrets of influence is the authentic empathy. So explain that a little bit, and why we need to make sure that's part of what we're doing.
So the first thing I want to do when I explain authentic empathy is I want to tell people what it's not. Okay, so authentic empathy isn't you saying, "Oh, I understand what you're saying. Oh, I get it," in a shallow way, because most of the time people are saying I understand or I get it because they want to move on to what they want to actually say. And that's not authentic empathy. Authentic empathy comes in 2 ways. Either you've walked in the shoes of this person before, so you understand exactly the process that they're going through. So you've personally experienced this. Or you can show authentic empathy by saying, hey, you know what? I have never actually walked in your shoes, but I've worked and seen so many people that have gone through this stuff, and I can't begin to imagine what you must be feeling like, but I get that it could be frustrating. That's authentic empathy. Not saying I understand because I've been through it, but hey, I've watched this happen in front of me before. You know, even if you've just heard it, you can even show authentic empathy if you heard something. You say, you know what? And I've heard people say this before. I never quite understood what they went through or what they go through. But now that I'm talking to you, I realize how deeply disturbing that could be for you. Right. Tell me a little bit more about that, because I want to understand. That's empathy. That's letting the person know that you're here for them. I'm not here for me. I'm here for you. I'm suspending my agenda completely. And I'm not going to formulate a response to anything you have to say until you've said it to me. And I've made sure that you understand that I understand what you said to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
that's
this makes total sense.
That's authentic empathy.
And again, I said it with Arthie Moore the other day. These are lessons that are, yes, they're great for your business, but they're great for life. And right now we've got so many race problems in this country, and so many people who are going, oh yeah, I totally get it. Well, I don't get it. I don't. I mean, like, when you tell me that you get pulled over, and we haven't had this conversation, but when my friend Ron talked about, actually, I'll tell you the greatest example that he said, and I went, oh my God. And it was the first time for me that I had that truly authentic empathy for him, because although I have never experienced it, I thought, God, how did you? That's awful. He went to an all-white school, and he talks about this. He went to an all-white school. All of his friends were white. He went over to a pool party, and he was so excited. Everybody was having a good time, and the mom pulled him aside and said, I know what you want to do to the girls, and that's not going to happen. And she said it that way in a really nasty, because you're African American, this is what you want to do to my girls. And as a mom, I was gutted to hear him say he went through this. So yes, that was the first time I went, oh, but I didn't have a word for that authentic empathy. So I like that.
That is. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's so important, especially in these uncertain times we're in right now. It's important for us to really try to channel that authentic empathy and really see where another person's coming from before we formulate a response to what we think is happening.
Right. Because we don't always understand it. But if we can really
empathize with the situation, and yeah, of course, compassion has already authentic empathy is full of compassion, as Artie Moore was saying.
Yes. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And we were talked about this before, that this is totally, we did not plan you two to be on the same time. It just the same week, but it worked out. So we almost have a theme this week with it. So
this is awesome.
All right. So let's talk about the power of vulnerability. If you've watched the show at all, you know it is part of who I am. So I really appreciate this part.
Well, I love the live energy that happens on your show. That's number one. You know, the power of vulnerability is, I want to say, probably the most underused tool or weapon of success that you could ever have invented. And every one of us actually already have it within us. This is about accepting, appreciating, and approving of who you are right now where you are. If you can do that, then you can actually use your most visceral insecurities as tools to lift other people. When you can say, hey, you know what? As I'm standing up here, I am actually scared to death that I'm going to get cotton mouth. The longer I talk, the more scared I get that I'm going to say something wrong. So if you guys just bear with me, there's some things I want to share with you that I want to get out that I think is truly going to help you. But if I stumble over my words, don't use that against me. As a matter of fact, if you just clap, I'll be able to continue and help you out. That's vulnerability right there. But what that does is it humanizes you, and people connect to you right away. You got to be able to tell the truth about who you are. And my most powerful story about this is, I'm Jamaican by birth. And but I came here when I was 12 years old to the United States. And so I picked up the language because I was 12 years old, but I still know how to speak in my Jamaican accent. But before all that happened, my accent would just come out all the time, and people used to tease me, and they used to say very nasty things to me and about my accent, and go back to where you're from, banana boat man, all these types of things. So when I got on the circuit of speaking and coaching people, I was always afraid in the early days that it was going to come out and people were going to ridicule me for it. The funny thing was, when I learned from another one of my mentors actually about how to embrace the power of vulnerability, and Mincy taught me this. When I did that, I remember the first time I said to people, I would quote my dad in terms of things he would say. And my dad is the type of guy that would never ever tell you what you can and can't do, but he would say things like, Dean, you can do whatever you want, but not in my house. And I would do it in my accent, in my dad's accent, channeling my dad, and people would actually love it. They would be endeared to me in a way that I didn't think was possible. And ever since then, I've just not cared anymore. You just go in and be me and just shed all the insecurities and let people know. And now people will tell me, Dean, can you actually do the entire show, the entire presentation in your dad's accent? So, so that's the power of vulnerability at work right there.
And I love that you use that as your example, because confession time here, I avoid a couple of words. I can't say the word DEAL. I say dill. And my husband's like, that's a spice. And I can't, if I say the word WELL, it's whale. And my husband's like, that's a great big fish. And so I avoid them. And I realize when I'm speaking on stage, I can't do that. So before I will say that on stage, I'll say, let me make sure you understand I'm from the South and this is how I say things. And sometimes my Southern's going to show. It's just going to happen. And for the longest time, I just felt like an idiot. But now I'm like, it's just part of who I am.
Just part of who you are. And people want to see you, people actually want to see you succeed. So they'll actually cheer you on and make sure that you're doing well up there. And once I embraced that whole thing, I mean, the power of vulnerability has definitely not, just to summarize how powerful this is, it's got me into rooms that I didn't belong in. It's got me jobs that I had no business getting because I don't have a 4-year degree like the people that were standing next to me. It's got me connected to people that otherwise should not be talking to me. Okay. It's got me deals that otherwise I should never have gotten because I have no business talking to this person about any kind of deal whatsoever. And it's gotten me discounts that nobody else gets. So I don't know why no one else is doing this, but the power of vulnerability is something that we should all have in our tool bag. And the greatest part is it's already a part of you. You just have to use it and use it genuinely to serve mankind and not to, to manipulate mankind, because it works either way, quite frankly.
Right. Yeah. Well, and there's a fine line here between me talking to you. We're just having a conversation, which is wonderful. Yeah. Other people who are listening to this may have heard this story before. But you just talked about all the things you got from it. Burgers and Bands came from that for us. Burgers and Bands for Suicide Prevention came because I was an Ironman, and 6 months later I was on a psych ward. And I shared that story in an article called Psych Ward Annie. That changed everything for us.
There you go.
So it's important that you share those things because you don't know what's going to happen, who you're going to touch. And yes, you may get something from it, but you may give something bigger than you know.
Bigger than you, absolutely. Like well, there's somebody out there that's walking either right next to you or directly in the same shoes you're walking in right now. And when they hear you say that, they go, oh my God, I'm not alone. Because how many people do you know that think their story is so unique? I mean, there are no unique stories out there. The content might be different, but the context is exactly the same in life for almost everybody. So there's somebody walking next to you or right in that shoes or is looking to go on that path and going, I can't, because then you tell your story and they go, wait a second, maybe I can do this. Maybe it's not so bad. Maybe I have a partner. I have a friend to walk with.
Right. And if we did that, we'd have so much less shame, right?
So much less shame.
So much less shame.
Hello, Brene Brown on Shame. I love her.
There you go. Exactly. All right. So let's talk about emotional intelligence and proactive emotional intelligence, because that's your fourth secret.
It's the fourth one, and it may be the biggest one. So this is part character, part skill. Now, why am I saying part character? So part character is you have to have genuine care for people. So I care deeply about people. In fact, I'm the type of person that sees the good in everyone, or I look for the good in everyone, whether I can see it or not from the beginning. I'm always looking for the silver lining. I'm always looking for the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm always looking to see why a person did what they did. Let me see if I could sit in their mind for a minute to find out why they made that decision that seemed like it was such a crappy decision, or like it was the worst decision they could make, or like it was you're a bad guy or a bad girl. Let me look at why they did that, because I'm a big believer that people are doing the best they can with what they have. Okay. So my character says, Dean, you should always be looking for the good in people and in a situation so that you can leverage those opportunities to make life better for yourself and for the people that you serve. So that's the character part about it. The other part about it is skill. And the skill here is the skill around communication. So there's, of course, reading, writing, and speaking as part of communication. But the one important skill with EQ is listening. You have to listen. But here's the thing. You can't just listen with your ears. You have to learn how to listen with your heart. That's EQ skill, okay? And what that means is lots of times I'll be talking to people and I ask questions and I get deep and I'm clicking with them and they're telling me stuff and everything else. And I hear everything that they had to say. But then my heart hears what they didn't say. So my ears hear what you say. My heart hears what you don't say. Okay. And that's where my follow-up question comes from. So that's proactive EQ because I'm deliberately making an effort to do that. And just to show you how important I think this is, and I will repeatedly in one conversation empty my mind and come back with a blank slate. I've done it already at least 3 times since we've been talking. You know, because we're talking and there are things that I want to say, and maybe I'm waiting for a question that you're going to ask, and I've paused. People don't see it, but I pause and I just take myself back and I empty my mind so that you can ask your next question without me having an agenda on my mind already. Okay,
and that's where the skill comes in.
That's where the skill comes in. You need to be aware that you're human and that you're going to run forward, that you're going to be in a headspace of, I know what I want to do. I know what I want to say. You're going to go there. And if you're aware of that, then you can tell yourself, hey, don't go there right now. Right. Take the next 20 seconds off. This is not about you. Right. This is about the person in front of you. This is not about you. So every 20 seconds or so, I have to remind myself, this ain't about you, dude. This ain't about you. Right? You know what my dad would say? He would say, Dean, let me ask you a question. Why are you doing that? And I'd say, Dad, what do you mean? He said, well, why are you doing it? Well, Dad, I have to do it. You have to do it? He said, let me tell you something, bud. You don't have to do anything. You should only do the things that you truly want to do. And when you do them, don't expect anything. That's what my dad would say. That's great. You know, so that is what you have to channel when it comes to proactive EQ. You know, part character and part skill. And the most important skill in the communication aspect is about really listening to what's said and then deeply listening to what is not said. And that you do with your heart.
I love that. I'm going to show this. I'm going to have to share this specific part. My husband, here's another confession. My husband does not watch the show or listen to it. So I'm going to have to share this with him, though, because I do know that this is a skill he's been talking about. He says, you know, we do all of these things for burgers and vans. We do all these things for suicide prevention. And I know that you and I know that Ethan both care a lot about every single person you meet. And although I care, I have a really hard time not getting myself distracted over here. And so he's been working on these skills, but I love what you said about emptying your mind and saying, oh, I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to necessarily say what that thing is that's in my head that I want to say. I'm going to empty it and keep listening. Exactly. So I think that's a very important skill you just shared there.
Yeah, it's huge. And if you take all 4 of these skills, you know, the captivating presence, the authentic empathy, power vulnerability, and proactive EQ all together, it creates for a powerful magic potion of really getting into the hearts of people, opening their minds so that you can influence the next progressive and forward moving change in their life. And when you can master these 4, you become an unstoppable force of, well, good or whatever, because they work both ways. I have this thing. Dean Graciosi is the one that started saying this, and I never really thought about it. But these skills, and when you master them, you could use them for whatever. I mean, it really is a responsibility, and I really want people to get that this is a responsibility of being a good steward of something that could create and develop things that are just way bigger than you. Like it's how you leave an indelible mark on this world. It's your legacy. It's what you leave behind when you're gone. What are people going to say? And I always say it like this. When I'm gone, I want my daughters to Google me and say, That's my dad. He did
Right.
that. He did the damn thing. That's my dad right there. And if that happens, I'm good.
You're good.
I'm
Yeah.
good.
So,
I'm good.
Dean, I'm looking at these four secrets and I'm thinking about it. Two things. One, I don't know that you can do any of them without being mindful. You
Yeah.
have to think about all of these things, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think you could do any of them without being a constant learner. And I'm looking at your bookshelves. As I say that, I'm looking at your bookshelves behind you.
Yeah.
And so I want to give you an opportunity to talk about some of the things that are on the shelf back there, why you've read them, why you recommend them to other people, and what you get from that. Because it's
Yeah.
more than just reading somebody else's words, right?
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
applying it to your life. So talk a little bit about that.
So the way I want to explain this is I've been an avid reader my entire life. I mean, my dad pounded this into us. He was an educator for 48 years, from being a principal to a vice principal to an administrator to mathematician. He's just an educated guy. So all of the children in my family, they read, period. So we have to read. But I love reading because I do learn a lot. But here's the thing. I don't just read words. I try to embody them. So my dad would always say there are two types of readings that you need to do. First, you need to read something that you can learn from that will make you more convicted in your beliefs. You should also read things that are different from your convictions to see if you can learn something and apply it or be more deeply grounded in your own convictions. So you got to challenge yourself.
Right.
So I read like devil's advocate. I read, on the opposite sides. I've learned that I'm more prone to self-development books and books that propel me forward. So when I read the words, I try to embody them or embody the concepts that I'm reading in a way that fuels my passion and my purpose. And if it can do that, then I will read it over and over again. So one of the Bibles that I read at least once a year, you see it right there behind me, is Sun Tzu's Art of War. Okay.
Yeah.
Now that book is life in and of itself. I mean, there's no book that I've ever read that is more. I mean, it's about war and how to wage war, but when you look beyond that, you realize that it's about life. And here's the funny thing about that: Sun Tzu, who was probably the greatest general to ever live, even though he was the master at waging war, if you will, his entire goal in life was always to win a war without ever throwing a stone. Ever.
Huh.
He doesn't believe in destroying cities and walls. He doesn't believe in enslaving people. He doesn't believe in fighting on the battleground and drawing blood if it's not necessary. He's about how do you get your enemy to stand next to you and become one. That's his goal. So even though he knows how to do all the other things very, very well, his first priority is winning a war without ever having to throw the first stone. It's about winning the war right up here.
Right.
So he
Right.
says, if you know yourself and you know the enemy, then success is assured.
Oh my gosh, I have to tell you, the number of people who have recommended this book to me, I can't even go there. And I read all the time. It's ridiculous how much I read. I haven't picked it up because nobody has said it in a way that made me think, so I'm gonna be ordering that today.
Yeah.
As my next book.
Because
It was that well said about that. I did not know that's what it was about. I didn't get it.
Yeah.
But
It's life.
I'd like to read that. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So
one other book I want to share with you. I was going to share the U Squared book with you, but I just thought of a book. It's not on the bookshelf right now because I gave it to my stepson for him to read. He took it to college with him, but it's by the late great Stephen R. Covey, and it's called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Now, this is the first self-help book that gave me my quantum leap or catapulted me forward, if you will, into what I'm doing now. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. In fact, it was so powerful in my life that I taught a program around the 7 habits for a long time. I thought a program around it. And the 7 habits are definitely also life. In fact, if you put the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People and the Art of War together, like side by side, and open them, when you read it, you're going to realize that the concepts are almost exactly the same.
okay.
that's what's funny about it. The concepts are
That's,
almost
yeah,
exactly the same. It's just that because if you could just move the war part aside from the art of war and just read the concepts, you realize that they're saying the same thing. Because how you wage war, if you wanted to, you could use the 7 habits of highly effective people to do that very, very well, to be honest with you.
right.
But if you're using this for a force of good and only good, then you're in a way better space, way better stratosphere. But that book by Stephen R. Covey is one of the most brilliant books I've ever read. And I haven't read that one in about 2 years, but now I'm talking about it, I think I want to read it again.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you have two
That's a great
comments
book
about
too.
these books.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Natasha's talking about the fact that he did ones for teens,
Yep, he did.
and then Whitney said exactly the same thing I said, which is she's ready to go read Art of War now. So
that's awesome.
I'm gonna put you on the line because you did such a good job describing that. And before we started, one of the books you said that you wanted to talk about was it's behind you, and it was The Big Leap.
Oh yeah, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, I started to tell you this, which was I didn't read it because they call me Send It in my family. Mm-hmm. And which means I just do things. So when I was like, do I really need a book called The Big Leap? So I'm going to challenge you to make me want to read it.
Okay. So here's the reason why anybody should read The Big Leap. And this is what I took from it. I read it twice now and I listened to it once. We are all self-saboteurs. We self-sabotage all the time. We don't realize what we do because you get to a point, you hit a success plateau and you're like, okay, I want to go to the next level, but who am I to go to the next level? I can't go to the next. Next level of what? Come on. Nobody's going to listen. Nobody's going to listen to me talk. Nobody wants to listen to me talk that long. Well, right. Gay Hendricks describes that as our upper limit problem. So what happens is, here's what life does. You get to a certain level, you look behind you and you're like, man, I can't believe I'm actually here. I don't believe I did this. And then your drive says you want to go to the next level. And there's a little voice in your head that says, what do you think you're doing? Stay in your place. Okay. Stay in your lane. You're lucky you got this far. Calm down. All right. You're really getting too big for your britches here. And this is the reason why you should read The Big Leap, because it helps you get out of your way of that. And I'll give you a perfect example of this. This has happened to me. I was laughing when I read this book because it happened to me more than once. I used to work on Wall Street. 1999 to 2001. Okay. Now I told you I got an associate's degree, but I didn't get a 4-year degree and I didn't get a master's. Okay. And my dad being an educator, me leaving college after a 2-year degree, he was not happy about that. Okay.
Right.
So when I went to work, I was working at a mortgage company, and then I wanted to go work in the city because the whole dream, of course, is to go live in New York City, right? When you're young. But it was like, how do you do it? And, I started talking to people. I do what I do. Back then, I didn't even realize what I was doing, but I was basically increasing my sphere of influence by talking to different people and, trying to find problems I can solve. And I did that. And then I was connected with somebody who said, hey, you know what? I know this guy. I think he works on Wall Street, and, you would love you. You'd be so good and whatever. So I called the guy up, and back then my cell phone was like a huge one. You flip it open or whatever. So I called the guy up, and I told him that Ron had given me his number, and that he said I should call you. He said that you would like me. He said, so he goes, why would I like you? I don't like anybody. I said, wow, I like you though. I said, I kind of challenged him to sit down with me, and he said, you know what, come to breakfast. I go to breakfast with him, and we have a conversation. I won't make the story too long, but we have a conversation, and he gives me the job and challenges me. He says, if you could survive the week, you can keep your job, basically. Right. So when I called my dad and told him that I got this job, he's like, Dean, how did you do that? You don't have any degrees. And I was like, Dad, I just help people. So here's the thing though. Before I started the first day, that little voice came to my head and said, you're not going to survive a week in this place. You don't even know what Wall Street's like. You need to stay in the bank out in Long Island. That's where, this is me in my head. So people don't take this the wrong way. But in my head, I was like, the people in Long Island are slow. Okay. You're from Brooklyn. They're slow. You can intimidate them, but you going to Wall Street, you're not going to survive there. That's not your pool. Right. And that's what the voice was telling me. And I had to fight tooth and nail and to get out of that headspace, I could go do the job. And I kept the job obviously until I had the job right up until 9/11 happened, because I was working down there at the time, and that's what basically ended that job. And then I had to do
Right.
the same thing again when I went to go work at the biggest beauty company on the planet. That voice came again. Listen, you're lucky you got through Wall Street. I don't know what makes you think you could survive at the biggest beauty company on the planet, and it came again, and I had to do it again. So I've had to do that over and over. I'm still doing it today. This next event that I'm launching, which we'll talk about, or that's the website I gave you. I didn't think, if I tell you what's happening with this right now, initially I was just like, wait, I can't do an event like this. This is too big. I can't. No. But I met a guy, he connected with me. He liked what I did for my first mastermind that I had launched, just a couple of months ago. And he said, I really want to work with you. I love your energy. And I'm thinking, why does this guy is already successful doing his thing. Why does he like my energy? And I'm like, I can't do this. But that voice came again, and I had to smack it down and say, no, I can do this. I'm going to do this. This scares the crap out of me, but I'm going to leap anyway to make that quantum leap. And you know what? It's already going really successfully. I think we've already signed 100 plus people already that are going to come to the event on the 14th of November, and it's still going strong. And the funny thing was, this was a challenge that we actually gave to each other after we talked, and we said, hey, you know what, Dean? We should let people in for $1 before we sell them anything. I said, why $1? Why don't we just do it for free? He's like, no, people need to have skin in the game. And I said, you know what? They do. Let's charge them $1 to get in the door. And it was one of those things where, is this going to work? Well, guess what? It's working. Our energy's behind it. And I've never met this guy in person before. His name is Jared Hines. He's an awesome guy. I'm going to Nebraska to shoot some videos with him for this particular event. And he said, don't book a hotel. Come stay at my house. I'm like, what is going on right now? This is crazy. So
he and I could be friends, actually. I do that all the time.
Yeah. I just want people to know that so many things are possible if you just, I know we get to the point where we don't want to believe, or we self-sabotage and all those things. But I just want people to say to themselves, yes, I know that I'm doing this. I know I'm human. This is going to happen, but I can get beyond this. I just need to take the next step forward. Just go ahead and do it anyway. People drive cars. I know I'm rambling right now, but you drive a car at night. The headlights are on. You don't stop every 20 seconds to see if you can see up ahead. You know that the headlights only go about 200 feet. And after every 200 feet, you're going to get another 200 feet. Well, it's the same way in life. Walk 200 feet on the glass. When you make the next step at foot 201, the glass will appear under your feet yet again. Yeah. We just got to keep going.
You just got to. Yes, I love that. I love that. So tell me what Expert Master is, because I think we say this isn't a commercial, and it's not, but you get this chance. So definitely give yourself a plug.
I will definitely do that. So it's Expert Mastery, by the way, MASTERY, expertmastery.com. So expertmastery.com is bringing together two very important elements of how to feed the world or serve the world with your expertise. And that is, it's bringing together Jared Hines, who is the social media energy expert. So he's the guy that will show you exactly how to spread your message in a way that's effective, efficient, and just absolutely mind-blowing as to how many people you can actually touch by doing just a few things and changing a few key things about how you show up online. Okay, that's his expertise. And we're going to couple that with my influential mastery of how to raise your impact factor. What are the things you need to do? What are the things you need to say? What mindset do you need to be in? What capabilities do you need to acquire in order to make that a grand slam every single time you touch the stage, the video, the post, the blog, whatever it is that you do? We're combining those two elements because we know that, especially in these uncertain times right now, if you can't master how to spread your message across social media, you're going to be a dud. You're going to be dead in the water. So you have to know how to do that. And of course, if you don't know how to structure your message and your story to influence people, then you can't move the needle anyway. So those are the two elements we're bringing together at Expert Mastery. This is going to be a full day event. We're charging $1. And the whole idea behind charging $1 is, look, you need to have some skin in the game. And if you can't invest even $1 in your next level of leveling up, then you can forget it. I want to tell people, stop over consuming all this information if you're not going to act on it. Don't over consume all this content just to over consume content. Okay. If you're not going to act, don't even come to Expert Mastery. As a matter of fact, if you're not ready to take massive action, you shouldn't come. You're wasting your time. You're wasting your time, and you're filling a spot that somebody else can fill, because we only have 1,000 spots. It's 30 days away, and we already have 100 plus spots already filled. So I want these spots to be filled by people who are really, really ready to play full out, and who really want to make a difference in the world, want to serve mankind. Jared would always say, Dean, if time, money, and sleep did not exist, how would you serve mankind? What would you do when you got up every day? How would you spend your days? What would you give back if time, money, and sleep did not exist? And those are the type of people that we want coming to Expert Mastery. And it's $1 to get in, I think, for the first 250 people. And then I think we charge $97 after that to fill the 1,000 spots. But, anybody who's listening out there, if you are an expert, if you have some knowledge that can help people, that could move the needle in somebody else's life, that you can really give back in a passionate, purposeful way, come to expertmastery.com. I mean, just come to the event. I promise you're going to leave. If you do nothing else after you leave, if you do absolutely zero anything else, you don't engage with us anymore, you don't buy anything from us, because we're going to make you an offer. I promise you, we'll make you an offer there. But if you don't buy any, of course we're going to make you an offer. But if you don't,
you would be dumb not to.
Be dumb not to. But if you purchase nothing else but spend this dollar, if you act on everything we tell you and go full out, will make you $1 million. $1.
That's great.
Will make you $1 million. If you
and I believe that, and I think you're right. People come. I've talked on the show. I'm probably an evangelist for the guy at this point, about Michael Hyatt, and I every year would go to his planning for the next year event. And it seems silly that you go to this planning event, you sit there and you're planning your next year. But I do this because I know I need that time. Yeah. And the number of people who go to this event, and I'll say, hey, do you want to go to lunch with me or dinner with me and talk about what you've set out so far, who have said, oh, I haven't said anything out so far. I'm like, but we just spent 3 hours this morning doing this.
Like, what do
you mean you haven't done it? You just came here and didn't do that? So, but it is unbelievable. It was very, very difficult to find people who would take that time and do that with me, because they had done it. So, people consume too much without putting it to use. Yeah. And
that's going to be one of my next posts. Yeah. Over consuming content for no reason.
I think that's a great post. It is a great post.
It's just too much. It's such a shame. But knowledge experts are going to win the day in the next paradigm that's coming right now. It's already here, quite frankly. And I think that there's so many people out there that have such a great message and a great story to share that could really change the lives of other people in the most positive, profound ways. And I just want to connect with those people. I have goosebumps right now when I talk about it, because I wake up every day with this fire in my gut. I drink this every day. I mean, I don't know how many people out there like me. But when it comes to moving forward, impacting lives and making an impact that matters, I live with that in my blood every day. I can't do anything else. I don't even know how to do anything else. I mean, I go full out period every single day. On this podcast, I have goosebumps the whole time I'm doing this right now. And I'm just so excited to be here. I don't even know what to say, except I just want your listeners, your watchers out there to really get something out of this. And I hope they walk away going, man, I'm so glad I spent the 30 minutes to listen to this, because I got so much out of it. That's all I want.
I'm absolutely sure they will, because this has been great. And I want to say, before I end the show, I want to say something real quick, in that I think so many people don't have that purpose. And if they could take that moment to figure it out. Yeah. And it really doesn't take that long. If you think about what you do in your life, if you can get yourself there and realize that you are an expert in this area, realize that you do have something to offer. I just talked the other day about, I have a purpose. My purpose is to save lives through suicide prevention. I spoke with James Bonato recently, who said his purpose every morning is to wake up and make somebody else's day better, period. That's it. That's all he wants in life, right? It's a huge thing to have your purpose, but literally you are the third person who has given me what your true purpose is in life. People don't think about what their purpose is in life.
Right.
And I think it's such a huge and powerful thing. Once you have it, everything else becomes easy.
Everything else falls into place. Well, your decisions become easier, right? Your decisions become easier because you know what your purpose is. So it's like, okay, well, does this drive me towards my purpose? No, I'm good. So these days, I say no to almost everything.
Yes, right.
I say no to almost everything. It wasn't always that way, but these days I do, because I know my purpose.
Absolutely. If you it's so powerful. All right, you stick around. I'm going to go
I
through our
will.
final things and I'll come right back to you. All right, everybody. I want to remind you, this was our last episode for this week. Monday we have healthy habits for entrepreneurs. We are busy. Yesterday I started my day at 7 a.m. at this desk and I ended it at 7 p.m. In between, I went for walks. When I say that in between, I mean, if somebody called me as opposed to a Zoom call, I went for a walk. So I did 3 different 30-minute walks yesterday because I purposefully wanted to take care of my health. This is important. What you eat is important, but you've got to think about it. And so we're going to talk about this on Monday, healthy habits for entrepreneurs. Your life isn't going to matter. Your business isn't going to matter if you're not there to take care of it. So take care of your health. We're going to talk about that. We want to remind you to subscribe. It's been rolling across the bottom of the screen the whole time. Subscribe to YouTube so my kids don't think I'm such a nerd. And subscribe wherever you're listening to podcasts because this is important to us. It will help us build our business. I am so very grateful for all of our guests and for all of you who are listening to this, who are downloading it, who are sharing it with friends. Actually, I haven't said that lately. Share it with your friends. Tell somebody about it. Let them hear our experts and what they're sharing with you, because I think it is so important that we do that. And because you'll help me, quite honestly, let me be completely vulnerable. I am a small business owner. I would love the help out there, guys. So please do share this. I do, Dean, I want to come back to you and just say, wow, this was awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for
So
having me. Appreciate it. It's been a total blast, and thank you.
thank you. And I think we met through Speakers Hub. Is that right?
We did. Yeah.
We did. So guys, if you are a speaker, that's a great place to go and become a part of that community. It's a great way to meet people. And again, that's what you're in here to do right now. Meet more people, see how you can connect. That's really important. I will see everybody Monday. Thank you guys for tuning in. And thanks again, Dean.
Thank you.